And we're
Back on actual.
That feels like my head right now. So, do you want me to clap again, or are we good?
we're good.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So welcome everybody. How does it get any better than this? This is welcome to the Zoom, and it's actually called "What if this was just the beginning?" So what I'd like to actually talk to you about tonight is I want you to take a moment right now and to have a look at your life and as it is now, like with everything, with your money, with your business, with your relationships, with your bodies, with your families, with everything, your parenting, whatever that is. It's like, what if this was just the beginning of what you've created? And what I would like you to do is start to acknowledge that. I'm just going to turn some noises off. What I'd like you to do is start to acknowledge that where your life is at right now, you created it. Okay? There's nobody else that you can blame for anything. And one of the things that we refer to in Access to, we talk about a bit, is actually committing to your life. So if you start to commit to your life and you start to commit to your choices, then what occurs is that you acknowledge, and you have to acknowledge that everything that you have in your life right now is because of you. There's other people who contribute to it, but you essentially choose everything. Okay. So I actually, I know that there's people in here who maybe have not done any Access Consciousness. So just to keep it really short and simple, if you say Access Consciousness clearing statement, which I will no doubt use tonight, and you can find out more about it from the wonderful, amazing Dr. Dane here. And he gives a really, really good description on theclearingstatement.com. So if you leave this Zoom and go, what the hell is she talking about? Check that out on theclearingstatement.com. Access Consciousness is basically a set of tools and processes to change any area of your life that you think is not working for you. And I really, I'd love you to start to have a look at that in the areas that you've decided that you think aren't working for you. And let me give you an example. There was like one day I was talking to Gary Douglas, who's actually the founder of Access Consciousness. And we were traveling to an airport, and I'm talking to him, and I was complaining about money, and, I had a money problem, blah, 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 going on and on and on. And I had no questions. All I had was a conclusion. And he looked at me, and then we got into the airport, and I saw the Prada shop, and I went, you know what, I'll meet you in the lounge. I said, I'll be back in a second. And I went and bought a Prada handbag and came back and went, well, apparently I don't have a money problem. So thing is, it's how many problems have you decided you have, and how often do you invent a problem so that you can make yourself fit into this reality and appear normal, even though you have never fitted into this reality and you have never been normal. And everything at that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And I sort of wasn't aware until just before that there was people on here who haven't done Access. So it's sort of like there's this whole stream of people on here. So that's the Access Consciousness clearing statement. The first time I ever heard it, I was like, what the heck? I have no idea what this person was talking about. But the one thing I noticed was when I woke up the next morning, things started to change. My life started to be different, and I had more of a sense of peace within me. And so much of using the Access Consciousness tools and asking questions is about you coming out of a fixed point of view and coming out of the conclusions that you have created as your life. So what if even right now, will you destroy and uncreate everything that you decided about you today and everything that you decided that you were yesterday? So it's all the decisions that you've made, all the limitations, all the conclusions that you've decided exist. Because the only reason they exist, oh yeah, guess what? You created them. So everything that is, you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So whether your life is at, like, what if you judged your life at the moment? Have you judged it to be a piece of crap? Have you judged it to be wonderful, amazing? Is it just different enough that it's not the same as everyone else? so you can say that you've got it right? Is it, above average? Is it less than average? Do you have enough trauma and drama in your life so that you can entertain yourself? What if everything at that is was a lie? What if everything at that is you invented so that you could be the same as everyone else? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. So what if today, just for this call, you had a blank slate? What if right now you just wiped the slate clean? It was actually interesting. I was saying I woke up in Dublin this morning. It was 1 a.m. and I was wide awake. And I was having like a chat to myself in bed because there was all these different like mind chatter, like there's noise going on. And I lay in bed and I went, you know what, Simone? What if you destroyed and uncreated everything that you decided you were, and destroyed and uncreated everything that you have decided is important to you, and everything you decided is not important to you? And the whole way I have constructed my life as it is today, destroy and uncreate everything that is. And I was actually lying in bed and there was this slither of light coming through so I could see, like some of the contours of the room. And I lay in bed and I went, oh, what if I destroyed and uncreated so much that I had no idea what was outside the door? Because the only reason why you know what's outside that door is because you've walked in the door, whatever room you're in, not in my hotel room, because you might not have been here. It's like the only reason you know is what is outside that door is because you've walked in and you've already decided that and concluded that you know what's outside. What if you were willing to live a life where you're always in question and you never assumed anything and you never had a conclusion about anything? So at 1 a.m. this morning, I was destroying and uncreating everything that I decided my life was, everything that I decided was important to me. And that's the thing. It's like, if you decide something's important to you, whether that's a person, like a house, like a country, a religion, money, a business, a child, whatever that is, if you decide that that is important to you and that you cannot live without it, then that will always control you. So what I did this morning, and if you would like to do it now, is destroy and uncreate everything that you've decided is important to you. Everything that you've decided can actually control you. And times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. And what would you like to create yourself as today? It's like, what possibilities are available that you've not yet asked for? I mean, how many areas of your life have you decided you're comfortable? Maybe you've got enough money to pay the bills. Maybe you've got a relationship where, you don't argue. It's better than the other ones. Maybe you've got parents who, are a little bit kind to you. Or maybe you've got a kid who hasn't reached the teenage years yet. What have you decided that you're okay with and you've become complacent with, rather than actually asking a question? And one of the best questions I know of from Access is, what else is possible? So what else is possible for you today that you have not yet considered? And everything at that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, here's the thing with asking a question, and it's one of the things that we talk about in Access all the time, is asking questions, and then you have a choice, a whole lot of possibilities that are available, and then you have to receive contribution. How many times when you ask a question, do you actually ask a question that is open-ended, where you are not looking for a result? And the interesting thing about it is, it's way easier. It's way easier if you ask questions from this energy of like, what else is possible? So get an area of your life right now that you think you have a problem with, that you think you're stuck with, or choose an area where you have decided that you have it right, that you're comfortable with, that you can handle. Okay. And what I want you to do is destroy and uncreate everything that you've decided about that. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. And everything, everywhere that you've decided that you can predict the future with it, and you're looking for a result, destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And what else is possible? What else is possible that you've not yet asked for? What else is possible that you have not allowed to show up? Because the thing is, how often do you only allow something to show up in your life if somebody else will align and agree with it? Or if you're at those teenage years, someone will resist and react to it. So then you can fight something. How many of you only choose something so that you can fight someone else, so that you can prove something? Rather than, what if you actually chose what was going to create a greater possibility for you in every area of your life? Every area of your life. And everything that is times the Godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So I actually spoke to a friend of mine, Chris Hughes, who I know some of you know, and he was awake in Australia when I was awake early this morning. And I was talking to him about some stuff and asking him for some help in some different areas, because that's what I do too. I call a friend, someone who's not going to align and agree with me or resist and react, and ask me some questions. And he was asking me, I went, I'm going to use this. He was like, good. He was like asking me, what is valuable to you? Like, what do you care about? What do you actually give a shit about? Like, do you even know? Do you know what's valuable to you? Do you know what you give a shit about? Do you know what you care about? And are your choices, this is the key thing, are your choices supporting that and creating it as a possibility? And when he spoke to me about that and he asked me those questions, I almost burst out crying when I was talking to him, because the thing that came up and was very apparent to me was the planet. And I actually created a business I've been involved in Access Consciousness for 19 years now. There we go. Not muted anymore. Someone muted me. So I actually created a business, before Access Consciousness, and I've been involved with Access for about 19 years, and it was called Good Vibes for You. And the original reason why I created it was I wanted people to be more vulnerable with each other. I wanted them to, be more vulnerable with the planet and to walk with the earth, not just walk upon it and abuse it. So for me, it was really important to ask the question of, what does the planet require of us? And what do I require of the planet? So when Chris was asking me these questions this morning of like, what is valuable to me? What do I give a shit about? Like, what do I care about? And are my choices supporting that? Planet was the first thing that came up. And then kindness. Because I remember one of the first classes I ever went to with Gary Douglas, he spoke about living in a world with no judgment. And I remember sitting there thinking, really? A world with no judgment? It's like, what would that be like? Can you imagine a world where no one judged? And that means you don't get to judge you. Okay. Doesn't mean like everyone else stops judging and you still get to judge you. You wake up in the morning with this litany of judgment. No, that stops too. So you never judge you. You never judge the money that you have or you don't have. You never judge your business. You never judge your family. You never judge your relationship. You never judge your money. You never judge your bodies. You never judge any of that. And nobody else is in judgment either. And to me, that was very refreshing and very appealing. And that was one of the things that actually, drew me to Access Consciousness. And when I listened to Gary Douglas, who I said is the founder of Access, and he was talking in this seminar in Sydney, Australia, and he was swearing and he was irreverent. And I was like, oh my God, this is so refreshing. And one of the things he said was, don't trust me, trust you, which was also really refreshing. So that's the same thing I would say to all of you is, don't trust me, trust you. What do you know? Like, what do you know about what it is that you would like to create for you, for the planet, for everything and everyone around you? And not from this place that you always have to give. It's like, I cannot tell you how many conversations I had with people about, what is the purpose of life? What am I meant to be doing here? Like, who am I meant to be helping, etc. And then Gary Douglas said to me, what if the purpose of life was just to have fun? It's like, are you kidding me? The purpose of life is just have fun. You're allowed to just do that. I thought that, I had to give. I thought that I was here on planet Earth and my job was just to give. And then when the way he spoke to me about it was, what if you were meant to receive? And I was like, what? I'm meant to receive? It's like, that's a totally different reality. It's like, how many of you have decided that you're not allowed to receive? That you're only meant to give? What if there was so much gifting in receiving that you have not yet acknowledged? And what if that was the energy and the flow of the energy that we could be for each other and with the planet? And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And what if you decided you cannot receive? Whoa, people. That nearly knocks me out. Everything that is, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. How many of you have already decided that you're not worth it? That you're not worth everything? What if you were the most valuable product on planet Earth? What if just for today, just for a moment, you are willing to receive all the capacities that you have and the greatness of you as you are right now? Not like once you study or once you reach a certain age or once you look a certain way or get a certain amount of money in your bank account. What if you were willing to acknowledge all of your capacities that you have and be right now, today? Will you? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive and acknowledge all of the capacities that you have, will you destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. If you are only just starting to acknowledge your capacities and you have a look at what you've created as your life and as it is today, what if that's like 2%? So only 2% so far. What if you're willing to step it up to 20%? Even for you daredevils out there, what if it was 50%? Imagine what you could create for you. So what if this was just the beginning? What else is possible that you've not yet asked for? I mean, one of the things I've always looked at is, this is your life. This is it. So are you living it? Or are you waiting until you turn like 70, 80, 100 and then go, I wish I had done that. So what I would like you to do is over the next week is start to have a look at the things that maybe you think about it or you hear yourself saying, I wish I'd done that, or I would like to do that. And if you can, write a list. You can do old school, pen and paper, or maybe get your phone and write a note or something like that. And start to look at those things and say, okay, would this be a contribution to my life? And if you get a yes, it's a simple question. If you get a yes, then ask, what action can I take to actualize this? Now, there could be something, like I'll give you an example. For years and years and years, I mean, I learned to snow ski, which I know my Canadian friends hassle me that I say snow ski. They say, is there any other skiing? I'm like, yeah, there's water skiing. I'm from Australia. So I like to snow ski, and I learned when I was 3. And I always said, one day I'm going to go heli skiing. I'd love to go heli skiing. And it was something that I spoke about for a long time. And then I was in Colorado skiing with a friend of mine, and beautiful day, beautiful, beautiful weather. And they had heli skiing there. And he looked at me and he went, do you want to go heli skiing tomorrow? And there was no reason why I could say no. And I went, yeah, I do actually. And I realized that I had been saying I'd like to go heli skiing for years. And it was something that I'd put outside of myself, thinking, oh yeah, one day I'll get there. One day I would choose that. How many things have you put outside of yourself with that point of view of one day I will choose that? So it's always in the future and it's never now. So everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And just to make it even more interesting, 9 weeks prior, I had a hysterectomy, which if you don't know about a hysterectomy, it's the same as pretty much a cesarean. So my whole core was not exactly strong. And I'm up in Colorado, as high as you can be, and heli skiing. And it was awesome. And I'm so glad I did it. So what have you been avoiding that you've been asking to have in your life, and yet you always, like I said, put into the future rather than having it in the now, so that you can even ask for more to show up? Because guess what? You're allowed to ask for more. And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, boys and beyonds. So somebody keeps muting me by the host. I don't know who the host is, but they keep muting me. You can't mute me. Can't put baby in a corner. You can't mute Simone. So what have you been avoiding that would allow you to create the life you truly desire and deserve? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. What if you're the valuable product? And destroy and uncreate everywhere that anyone has ever projected at you that you are not. You are not less than, and you're allowed to ask for more. Everything at that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. It's like, what have you made yourself wrong for? And where are you trying to make yourself right? And everything at that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So what have you defined you as that you are not? Wow. Everything at that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So truth, what have you defined you as that you are not? And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was going on and on about stuff. And I said, who are you being? Which is a great question that you can ask. Okay. So if you find yourself functioning from a place that has not got this lightness, when you're being you, there's a sense of joy and you have this peace, and you could be doing anything, and it's like going for a walk, or, in the bath, or work, or watching TV, or whatever. And it's like, but there's a sense of lightness to you. It's like, there's no judgment around you. That's when you're being you. So, and when you start to go on with the trauma and drama and what I would say is the entertainment of this reality, and he was going on and on about some stuff, and I said, hey, who are you being? And he said, I'm being a poor boy. And I was like, all right, so are you actually poor? And he was like, no, but that's what he was functioning from, is these limitations with money. So it's a great question to ask too. It's like, when you're doing that, it's like, who am I being? So who have you decided you are that you are not? And everything at that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And the way this works is, like, even if you went, okay, who have you decided you are that you are not? Maybe you've decided, oh, I'm a mother. Yeah, a mother might be one of the things that you are, but that doesn't define you. So there was many, many years ago when I owned this business called Good Vibes for You, and I was in Sydney, Australia. I was walking down the street in Glebe, and I used to do a lot of expos and music festivals, etc. And these two guys walked past, and they went, oh, look, there's the Good Vibes lady. And I went, oh, crap. And I realized that I was creating myself, and I had defined myself as the Good Vibes lady. And even though somewhere in my world I knew that I was over the business and I didn't want to have it anymore, I had convinced myself that I couldn't let go of the business because I had no idea who I was going to be if I wasn't the Good Vibes lady, if I didn't have the definition of my business. So how many of you are using a business to define you, or using your kids to define you, or using your husband or your wife to define you, or using a religion to define you, or using female or male to define you, your sexuality? And everything at that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So what are you defining you as that you are not. And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow. So Megan, you're right. I was not looking in all the threads and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's any questions in there.
You're good. You're good. They're just loving what you're saying.
Okay, thank you. And I can see there's a few people sent me private messages. You've got not much chance. I don't have my glasses on either of me actually reading that. So if you want to ask a question, you can maybe unmute. So truth, what are you defining you as that you are not? And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So you get that you actually have a choice in life. So right now, everything, like I said before, where your life is at right now, you've chosen that. If you have no money in the bank account, you chose it. If you have money in the bank account, you chose it. If you woke up happy today, you chose it. If you woke up sad today, you chose it. If you're angry right now, you're choosing it. You're choosing everything. So what if you could give yourself a few moments and ask, what is it that I'd actually like to choose and create as my life? And like the title of this Zoom, what if this was just the beginning? What else is available to you? And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds.
Simone, we have a question on the Portuguese Zoom. Is that cool?
Go for it.
So, give me just a second. My computer decided, okay. So, she has all her financial world like stopped, is stuck. Nothing comes in. It's in some place she decided to close it off. So is there any place where she could have decided that she shut it down or close it?
Yeah. What do you love about refusing money? And I'm sure this only applies to her. I'm sure nobody else on this Zoom is doing that either. So what do you love about refusing money? And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And it's like, what I would also ask is like, do you love money or do you hate money? And I know this sounds like an odd question. Everyone would go, no, I love money. Do you? Or do you hate it? Like how many decisions have you made about money that you have not acknowledged, that if you did acknowledge them would allow you to have a freedom of, with and as money? And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And the way this works is, we could work everything out with our logical mind, we would have everything we ever desire. Like if you go, you know, it's the difference too of the people who wake up in the morning and they say, oh, I wish I had $1 million. Okay. So you sit around drinking your coffee saying, oh, I wish I had $1 million. And then the people who actually wake up in the morning and go, you know what? I'm going to create $1 million. No matter what it takes, no matter what it looks like. What action do I need to take today to create $1 million and allow $1 million to show up in my life? And maybe it's not $1 million, maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's 100,000. Choose what works for you. But it's like, if you come out of that place of complaining and doing the trauma and drama and the entertainment of this reality of like, oh, I have no money, and ask, what do I love about having no money? Oh, does that mean that everybody else has to support you? Or does that mean that no one will ever rob you? Or, you know, it's like, it's the insane points of view that lock you up. And one of the examples I had of, you know, I was $187,000 in debt when I first met Gary Douglas many, many years ago. And I ended up writing a book about it called Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, which is in about 8 different languages, because I changed my money situation by using the Access Consciousness tools. And I used to use the Access tools and they worked. And when Gary and Dane would talk about them with money, I would just be like, hear this like blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, here we go again, more tools about, you know, you know, using the access consciousness tools with money. And then one day I went, you know what, this is insane. I'm so in debt. What if I actually started to use these tools? Like, good thing I'm cute, because sometimes I'm not very bright. And so I started to use the tools, and my financial reality started to change. And one of the things I realized was I was more comfortable being in debt. It was at one point where I actually got out of debt, and it was about 2 weeks that I was out of debt. And when I actually got out of debt too, I was like, this is it. And I was like, this is a bit boring. Like, it's not very exciting. I thought someone was going to come in and, you know, give me some champagne and congratulate me or something. I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but I was like, this is it. Now I have money in the bank account. And within 2 weeks, I found myself back in debt again. And luckily, because I was smart enough and I was using the access tools, I realized what I was creating. I created it. So you create it. Your current financial situation now, I don't care where you were born, who your family is, what your job is or not, you created it. And if you acknowledge that you created it, then you can change it. But if you are always blaming someone else, then you'll never, ever commit to being able to change your life. And you are the only one that can change your life. There's people who can contribute. There's things that can contribute, but you've also got to receive it. Okay. So one of the things that I noticed was a point of view that I had. I absolutely adored my father, who, you know, he died a few years ago. Amazing, kind, generous man, like brilliant. So lucky to have someone like that in my life. And I remember him saying to me at one stage, I won't die and I won't leave this planet until I know that my kids are financially stable. And my brother was doing fine. My 2 stepsisters were doing fine. And I realized I was creating myself as a financial mess in order to keep my dad alive. Now, that's insane. And when I realized the point of view, and I actually went and spoke to him, he was like, oh, Simone, he was like, what are you doing? And I went, I know. And I realized what I was doing. And so I changed my point of view. And that's a really key element that you need to do with any area of your life that's not working for you, is change your point of view. It's like, how many points of view do you have currently in whatever area you think you're stuck in that do not allow you to receive something greater? And everything that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So with your money situation, ask, what do I love about refusing money? What do I love? What do I love about hating money? What do I hate to love about money? What do I love about being in debt? And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, I know that this is like a 45-minute Zoom. So if you listen to this again and listen to all these questions, even write them down, put them on a loop and run them over and over again. Because the thing is, and the way Access Consciousness works is with these questions, is when you ask a question, if you notice, like, it's like when I ask you this, there's like this solidity, and you sort of go, ugh, and it's like this stuck. And then you use the clearing statement, and it starts to, it's almost just like pressing the delete button on everything. And there starts to be more of a sense of ease. And then you ask the question again or run a process, and it's like running layers of it, because there's so much insane points of view that we've created around something. And something like money, we create a lot of insane points of view around it, rather than actually just being willing to receive it. So all the insane points of view that you've created around money that keep you from ever receiving an abundance of currency flows, cash flow, and money, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Mm-hmm.
So someone's saying that they can't make out the words Simone is saying when she repeats her mantra. It's not a mantra, it's the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. And you can go to theclearingstatement.com and Dr. Dane here explains it all. But basically what it is right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So, and it's so much about the all the places that we've decided we've got something right or wrong, etc. I mean, if you look at money, I've gone through all these different phases with money. At one stage, you know, I was creating a business. I was asking for the business to be successful. The business was, you know, I was making contacts. I was like, you know, the business was moving along, but I was never asking for money to show up. So I was creating more and more debt. Then I went, you know what, this is not much fun. So I started to ask for money to show up. But then I also went through this phase because I had a judgment of money that I needed to prove that I deserved the money. So the first thing I would say is, you know, if I, you know, I'm asking for money to show up, but I'm going to do good things with it. So I had to prove that I deserved to have money because I had decided I was going to do good things with it. That's all based on judgment and all based on conclusion and all based on creating a limitation with money. And it was actually Dr. Dane here. And if you haven't met him yet, check out some of his stuff. He's absolutely amazing. He does a great YouTube video series called Tour of Consciousness. And you can sit there for days on end, much better than reality TV, and watch his Tour of Consciousness. But one day I was actually in Europe and we'd just done this class and I'd earned some money and I had some cash in my hand, and Dane looked at me and he said, when are you going to just receive the money? When are you going to allow yourself just to have this money? He said, you earned it, receive it. And I sat there and I looked at this money in my hand and I was like, crap, because I knew he was right. I had this money in my hand and the first thing I was looking at doing was, how do I get rid of it? What bills do I have to pay? Who can I give it to? What can I buy? And how many of you do that? As soon as you get money, you look at, how do I get rid of it? It's not a hot potato. It's like, what if you just actually practiced having money? And it's like a muscle, okay? How many of you, when you get money, the first thing you do is look at, oh, what bills do I have to pay? And you never actually receive it because you're so quickly trying to get rid of it. What if it wasn't about trying to get rid of the money? What if it was about having it and receiving it and being okay with that? So how many judgments do you have about receiving money that keep you from having an ease with money? And everything at that is times a Godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, goes beyond. I love that. Someone says they just binge watched a whole weekend of Dane. Hey, you can do that way better than watching some dodgy reality TV show.
Simone, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Simone, speaking to when you were talking about the unwillingness to let something go or someone go because you've convinced yourself of something, there's a client that I have had for a very long time, and there's some strange energy around it. I'm wondering if you can speak to it. I know I'm sitting in the middle of a distractor implant with this fear and paranoia, but I made the choice I'm still a little scared. I made the choice that this is not kindness to me anymore, even though it brings us some money to me. And I understand, I'm aware, I'm the source of the creation of my own money flows. However, I'm sort of sitting in this energy of knowing that I'm moving forward to let her go, but there's such a sense of paranoia, and I'm wondering if I'm teeter-tottering between, am I really terrified, or is this absolutely exciting because I'm finally going to break free from this energy and create so much more than I ever thought possible? Am I crazy?
What if I loved you no matter how crazy you are? No. It's like, what do you know? Well, so what I would like you to do is have a look at this in the way you spoke about it. It's like, what makes you feel lighter and what makes you feel heavier? And what we talk about in Access is what makes you feel lighter is the truth. What makes you feel heavier is a lie. So when you looked at it, it's like when you're going through the scenario of like when you had to keep the client, and it's like, does that have a bit of significance about it, that then the client and the money is actually going to control you rather than you having the freedom to choose?
It has controlled me to the point where it's like, it's insane. And when I just made that choice and that decision to actually, this is not working for me, this is not kindness to my body, to my life, my living, she's an ultimate in gaslighting. So, okay, great. She's good at it. So wonderful. But without judging, without all of that, what is actually going to work for me? And I guess it's that fear of
so it's
if I let this go, what's going to happen? I'm going to free fall into what?
So you don't have fear, but you don't have fear It's
Okay.
like, are you trying to predict a future rather than
Yes.
allow a greater future to show up?
Yes.
Okay. So everywhere that you're trying to predict the future by keeping everything in existence as it is, even though you know it's creating a limitation, where you destroy
Yes.
and uncreate it.
Yes, please.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. It's sort of like keeping a shitty relationship in place because you've decided you know it and you can predict the future, rather than going, you know what, I don't know if this is actually working for me anymore. What if I change this up? What if I actually ask for something different? It's like a job. It's like, how many people stay in a job because they think they can't get another one? It's not true. It's like there's so much available out there, but you've got to ask for it. You've got to ask questions. You've got to choose. You've actually got to choose. You've got to take some action to allow something different to show up. And you have all these possibilities available that you can choose from, and then actually receive the contribution. Like, what if your whole entire life, you were the person that was choosing? You were not the person that was sitting back waiting to be chosen. So you choose, you're not waiting to be chosen.
Yeah. That's big. And it's, I'm also getting the awareness of where am I using her as an excuse so that I don't have to be the greatness of me, because I don't know what that looks like. And it's very scary being the operative word, which is a lie. And so what if where I'm holding my own self back, making her the source of all of this when that's not the case? I'm creating this.
Yeah. How many of you have made something or someone the source of the creation of your life, and it's not true?
Mm-hmm.
You are the source of creation of your life. There's not one other person. There's not money. There's nothing that is the source of the creation of your life. You get to create it as it is right now.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And it's like, that's the thing that you got to look at. It's like, and how many of you decided, oh, but if I let go of this, then nothing else will show up. If I let go of this, then something greater might not show up. You know what, guys? What are you doing? It's like, are you here to have a life, or do you want to actually live? What if you let go of, like I did at 1 a.m. this morning, sitting in the bed in Dublin, and just went, you know what? I'm going to destroy and uncreate everything. Everything that I've decided my life is. Everything that I've decided is important to me. Destroy and uncreate it all. Let it all go. It's like, just, you know, as a kid, you just went, the slate out with your life and go, all right, now what else is possible? Because when you start to function from that place of destroying and uncreating what you've decided means something or is significant in your life, then you cannot have anything else show up. So if you have something that means so dearly to you, then you cannot have anything else show up, then you can only receive that. That's it. It's sort of like a horse, you know, a horse in a horse race when they've got blinkers on. All they can see and all they're focused on is the front. All they've decided they can focus on is where they're heading, and they've decided that they have this predictable future. And guess what, guys? You do not have a predictable future. You have a future that is based every day on question and choice and possibilities and contribution. It's not predictable. I mean, has any day of your life shown up the way you thought it would? Like, you wake up in the morning and go, this is exactly the way it's going to look. You go to bed that night and go, yep, that was it. Exactly. Showed up exactly as I thought. It doesn't work like that. So how many of you decided that that's the way your life should work, or your relationship, or your business, or your money flows, or your family? I mean, if you have a kid, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, there's no manual for a kid. It's like every single kid is different, and the way they be today and the way they were yesterday and the way they'll be tomorrow. It's like you have to be in a constant state of question in order to create a greater possibility. It's the same with every area of your life. So everywhere that you've been fighting for the predictable future rather than choosing the pathway of ease, joy, and glory, which is a hell of a lot easier, of question, choice, possibility, contribution, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Yeah, was there another question there?
Oh, I was just going to say, oh, hi everybody. It's Sylvia. I was wondering if just in the last minute or two, you could just talk, I know you've mentioned it, but talk about 10-second increments. Like, let's say I woke up all sad, and I always thought, like, I'll be sad all day. Like, how do you, I guess it's kind of like what you did when you woke up at 1 a.m. You cleared it, and then could you talk a little bit about that 10-second increments? Because that really helped me to hear that, like, oh, I can choose again.
Yeah. So one of the tools that we talk about in Access is choosing in 10-second increments. And yeah, thank you, Sylvia, because it's like that. I mean, I remember years ago before Access, I used to wake up and I would be at one stage. I remember I used to wake up crying nearly every day, and I thought that was normal. I was like, doesn't everyone wake up crying? It's like, no, they don't. It's in a really shitty relationship, but that's a whole other story. But I'd wake up crying and I thought that was normal, and it would go on for like days, even weeks. And with the 10-second increments, it's like you wake up and whatever is going on. So for example, like this morning when I woke up at 1 o'clock and I had so much noise going on, even though it was quiet in Dublin, and I went, okay, what am I going to do here? So this 10 seconds, I destroyed and uncreated everything that I had as in existence of my life. And then I went, next 10 seconds, what am I going to choose? And I realized that my friend Chris was awake. So I pinged him and said, hey, can I call you? Because the thing is too, I called Chris because he's a friend of mine that is not going to align and agree with me and not going to resist and react. He's actually going to ask me questions. So if you can, find a friend, because a true friend is never going to align and agree with you or resist and react to any of your points of view. A true friend is actually going to ask you a question that will empower you to have the awareness to choose something that is going to create something greater. Okay. You want to find a friend like that. And if you've got one, you're really lucky. Okay. If you've got more than one, you're magically lucky. So, but 10-second increments, it's like you just choose in 10-second increments. This 10 seconds, what am I going to choose? I mean, it's like if you're angry, and I've actually enjoyed it with the anger side of it, because if I get angry, instead of judging myself that I'm angry, it's like this 10 seconds, I'm angry. You know what? I'm going to enjoy it. If I'm angry, fucking enjoy it. And it's like, maybe it lasts for 10 minutes. And then you go, you know what? I'm over it. It's like, this is exhausting. It's like, choose again. So what if you could choose your life in 10-second increments? This 10 seconds. So right now, what are you going to choose? And the next 10 seconds, what are you going to choose? And the next 10 seconds, what are you going to choose? And I know your whole life, you've been told that you have to find the answer, that you have to choose something and stick to it. I mean, how many of you have been made wrong not sticking to a choice that you made? Now, if you stick to a choice that you made, pretty much what you do is you turn it into a decision and you create it as solid. What if there was nothing that was ever solid in your life? And what if you chose in 10-second increments and you always had a different choice available? And now I practiced this tool when I first heard of it, and I recommend it, and you probably won't do it, is choose 10-second increments and do it for 3 days. Now you're going to do it and you're going to forget. Okay. You'll forget 100, 1,000 times a day. I mean, I even used to write it on my hand, like in a marker pen, 10 seconds. And I'd write it on my hand and I'd wait, because how many times do you wake up in the morning and say you go, oh, well, I drink coffee in the morning. So you go to make a coffee. But have you even stopped to go, coffee? You know, and then sometimes you drink a coffee, you make a coffee and you take a sip. And because you made the coffee, you think you have to drink the whole thing. But your body just goes, no, I just want one sip. Or it might go, you know what, I don't want to drink coffee now, I want to drink tea. But you go, you know, that's too much, making a coffee and a tea. It's like, well, how many decisions have you made that keep you from a constant state of choice? So what if 10-second increments allowed you to be in a constant state of choice and question, which allowed so many possibilities to show up in your life beyond what you could ever imagine? And everything at that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So choose in 10-second increments. And I remember,
segundos e...
I think we...
Sorry,
sorry, is that a question?
There is, but I unmute myself without intention. But there is a question in the Portuguese if you have time.
Okay, sure, go for it.
Okay, so she's asking, when we have a debt, how do we do when we receive money? What do we do?
When you have a debt, what do you do when you receive money?
Yeah, so you have a debt. When you receive money, what do you do with that money? Do you pay the debt or do you keep...
Okay, I see what you're saying. Depends. And it's like, I mean, that's a whole, you know, big class as well. And I know that my book, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, is actually in Portuguese. So I highly recommend getting that because it goes through so many different tools. And when you receive the money, the thing is, I see so many people who are in debt and they don't want to make money because they've decided that when they get the money, the first thing they have to do is just pay it off to whoever they owe money to. You still have to live your life. So what if you looked at, all right, so how much more money would I have to make each week in order to pay the debt off? But you also have to live your life. So you're not ignoring the debt. You're not avoiding it. You're being aware of it. But you're also not just working to pay off debt. Okay. So, and like I said, I highly recommend getting the Getting Out of Debt Joyfully book, because I was totally ignorant of money and I avoided looking at it for many, many years. You never would have been able to tell that I was in debt, because I would, I'd go shopping, I'd go away for the weekend, I'd do lots of different things, and I was creating money, but I was also spending a hell of a lot of money. And until I started to look at how much debt I was creating and how many bills I owed. And what I actually did was, every single person that I owed money to, I sat down one day and I rang every single person, whether it was, a friend or a company, whatever. I rang them and I said, hey, look, I'm aware that I owe you this amount of money. Is that correct? I'm going to do the best I can to pay you off. And some people, it was like $10, $20 a week. And I said, I'm going to do my best. I can't pay any more than this. And every single person that I called that I owed money to was so incredibly grateful that I was actually being present with it and acknowledging that I owed that money. Because how many people avoid it and don't answer their phone or don't open up, their mail, because they think, oh, if I don't do that, it'll go away. No, it doesn't go away like that. So I actually acknowledged it and I became really present with it. And that book is filled with tools to get you out of debt if you choose it, but you need to choose it as well. So everywhere that you are choosing to have a money problem, where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds, and all the problems you are inventing, like I said right at the beginning, so that you can keep yourself the same as everybody else, where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. What if now is the time to actually claim, own and acknowledge that you're different? It's the truth. Are you willing to be the difference that you be? No matter if anyone else is being that, you get to choose. You get to choose what your life looks like. So everything that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. Yes, someone in Heidi is saying, now is the time. It truly is. Now is the time. So,
Hi, Simone. Can I ask you a question?
Sure, last question.
Yep. About receiving judgments and to have more ease with receiving judgment, jealousy, and all this stuff from reality that
judgment is not real.
Okay. From choosing myself.
Okay, so judgment is not real. Judgment is invented. So if you make judgment real, then it will control you. Now, I learned this many, many, many years ago. And I remember when Gary Douglas said that, when he realized that judgment was nothing but a big, black, dark, deep hole, he swore that he would never, ever judge himself or anyone else again. And that's definitely something that I work on every single day, because it's not real. And one of the things that he made me look at one stage was, because, at one stage I was worldwide coordinator, which I'm not anymore. Miss Francesca Fiantini sitting to my left is, of Access Consciousness. And at one stage I said to him, I can't do this job anymore. And he said, why not? And I said, because I can't handle the judgments. And he was like, that's not true. And he said, what I want you to do is, he said, I want you to have a look at the people who are judging you and look at what they've created with their lives. So I did, not based on judgment, just based on the awareness of it. And then he said, now I want you to have a look at your life and look at what you've created. And I had created a lot more, than what they had chosen. And he said, so are they judging you, or are they judging what they have not yet chosen? Wow. I realized it wasn't about me. It was about them. I mean, someone just came up to me at class at the end of today. We're at the advanced body class in Dublin. And she said, Simone, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. And she said, I just have to tell you this. And I went, sure. And she said, I met you in London a few months ago. And she said, and I hated you. I went, okay. And she said, and my daughter loved you. And I went, all right. And she said, and now I see you and I've watched your stuff. And she said, I love you. And I was like, all right. And she said, I think, you know, you're amazing and you're inspirational. But she hadn't even spoken to me in London, but she had already decided that she hated me. And it's like, so how much of that is a judgment that is not true and not real? So how many of the judgments do you buy into that you've decided people have of you, which are not real? And everything at that is times a Godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, in shorts, boys and beyonds. And can I just also thank everybody around the world that there's a whole lot of people that are coming onto this Zoom tonight that are doing these bars swaps around the world. And I want to thank you so much for being everything that you're being and doing the bars swaps. If you don't know what bars are, check it out on accessconsciousness.com, the website. Get your bars run. I honestly do not know what I would be doing if I never got my bars run. It's 32 points on the head. And, you know, when these points are, put your head lightly on the head, and it's like pressing the delete button on your computer. And there's different things like sadness and joy and control and money and awareness and creativity and creating connections and aging and everything. So, and when you get your bars run, it starts to eliminate all of the fixed points of view and the decisions and the limitations and the conclusions that you have in all these different areas of your life. So highly, highly recommend getting your bars run. And thank you to all of you guys out there who are actually doing the bars swaps. It's like, it creates a different energy in the world. You can definitely perceive it. So thank you. And I saw that Heidi put in too, on the 8th of March, I have, if you want to come to Estonia, which I've never been to Estonia, I'm looking forward to it. On the 8th of March, I have a one-day class, and there's no prerequisites. You get a manual. It's wonderful. The manual is huge. There's so much information in it alone. And it's called Access, Business and Money. So obviously the topics that we talk about is business and money. And as I've always said, you know, your life is your business is your life. So that class can go anywhere. All it takes for you is to ask a question. And if you're willing to go there, I'm willing to go there too. So it's a one-day class on the 8th of March. You can go to Estonia, or you can jump on audio live from anywhere in the world. So when you jump on audio live, you listen to it. You get put in a little thread, so you get lots of photos of the class, etc. And you can also come on and ask questions live via Skype. So there's a whole great setup. I think there's a whole bunch of languages going on as well. And I want to thank you guys all for coming on here, and every single person who's contributed to this Zoom being on tonight. And just thank you for being in the world, and thank you for choosing everything that you're choosing. Because you know what? It's like every single one of you who choose something greater and choose to be you each day. It's like, not choose to be somebody else. Don't choose to be like somebody else. Choose to be you. That's what creates greatness in the world. And that's where you inspire everybody else to choose for them. So, mwah, adore you. Adios. Goodbye from Dublin. Mwah. See you next time somewhere else.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Simone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Simone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.